So the reality is that this will probably be my personally most personal video ever. So for one, let me go ahead and throw out a couple disclaimers really quick. I'm not gonna put up any sort of image, gameplay, anything. It's just gonna be a black screen for one, because I don't want any distractions. I don't want any of that. Just if you're watching this video, listen to what I have to say. Secondly, I don't know if and or when I'm gonna drop profanity in here. So I generally probably, sometimes cause of my videos, but that's just kind of in the spur of the moment. This could potentially turn out to be one that's heavily filled with it. So like, I don't want anybody to get in trouble if you're younger or whatever. So just click off the video. Either way, if you guys follow me on, I don't know how many times I do that little lip smacky thing. Whenever I have serious talks, I do it, so forgive me for that. Either way, if you guys follow me on Twitter, if you follow me on social media, anything like that, Instagram, whatever, lately, more so lately than I'd say, or than than in the past, I guess, I haven't necessarily been, I haven't necessarily been myself. It's just, I got in a situation where I've just got so much going on, and sometimes it gets overwhelming. It truly is, and it's hard to keep up this persona on my channel that everything is all right. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm just trying to make people happy, even if I'm not personally happy myself. It's hard to keep that up. So sometimes I let some of that leak out, and I'm gonna give you guys my full context, my full story, everything. I don't know how many people are willing to do this. I don't know how many people will ever do this, and especially like on a platform like YouTube. But I'm going to tell you guys everything that there is to know about me. I'm going to leave out some things because I don't need to tell you like, some super, 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 super personal stuff. But I'm going to tell you guys, the general stuff. So, I am 23 right now. I always forget. 23 now. I am turning 24 later this year. My mom passed away when I was 10. 9, excuse me. I was turning 10 that year. Either way, I was 9 back in '03. So around that time, it was just me, my mom, and my little brother. My mom passed away a couple weeks or so after having my youngest brother. So I have two brothers, two younger brothers. One of them is about 5 years younger than me, and my youngest one is 5 years younger than him. So I've got a couple younger brothers. My mom passed away just shortly after that. Up until then, my dad wasn't around. My dad is a weird guy. He's a guy that he is super secretive, right? Like, for example, for context, when my mom lived with him, she couldn't tell her parents, my grandparents, exactly like where they lived, or even to this day, I don't think anybody in my mom's side of the family knows what that man does for a living, and it's just, he's weird, right? So he was never around, wasn't a father figure for me, and that's perfectly fine. My mom did the best she could to raise us, but ultimately she ended up passing away, and I was forced to go live with my dad. My dad and I, we never really meshed, and then he found out that my mom had like Social Security or whatever, and he could get money for us, and try to come down here and take my middle brother, not my youngest brother. So he wound up being successful in doing so. Took me and my middle brother, left my youngest brother with my aunt, because my mom on her dying bed asked her sister, my aunt, to take care of my youngest brother. And she did. She still is to this day. He's 13. So my dad took me and my middle brother. Initially, it was just supposed to be me going with him, and then my grandparents, my mom's parents, taking my middle brother, which would have split us all up, but he took him, regardless of the motivation, the money and all that stuff. He did. And we never got along. My issue is that I was old enough to kind of see the way that he wasn't around, and the way he kind of mistreated my mom and things like that. And I never really got close to the man, I never really could. So that being said, I was always lashing out. I was always bad. I was always just doing stuff and not listening, stealing, and I was just bad, and I was always running away. I can never stay with him. So ultimately, around the age of 13 or so, I got in a situation where I was home late from school, one reason or another. I think I was messing around with my girlfriend because around that time, I'm 13, 14 years old, and all these girls and hormones new in high school and all this stuff, and I'm just dicking around with my friends and stuff. And I came home late one day, and apparently he had had enough, and he told me, hey, come back in an hour, all your shit will be outside. So that's exactly what happens. I come back, all my shit is outside in bags. So I leave. I'm actually not even mad about this. That's the problem. If you are kicking your kid out, it shouldn't be to a point where if they leave, they're not even mad about it. They're not upset. I can't lie and say that I wasn't nervous or worried or anything like that because I'm a kid. I just turned 14 or so. Yeah, I had just turned 14. Forgive me if some of the numbers are a little funny, but I had just turned 14. So at this point, I'm homeless, right? I had wanted to get away from my dad, so it didn't really bother me. It never really hit me until it came time to, lay down and lay your head somewhere. It never really hit me until then because I'm like, damn, I could stay out all day, have fun, be with friends, whatever I'm doing, but I don't actually have anywhere to go anymore. When it comes time to go to sleep, when all the stores close, all the lights are off on the street, well, you know what I mean. But either way, I don't have anywhere else to go. So what did I do? I would sleep in 24-hour shops. Like I'd go buy a drink or something, and I'd just kind of sleep there. And it was cool for a little bit. After a while, they were like, hey, no, yeah, you can't do that anymore. Of course, you can't have some guy just sleeping in your store. So I understand that, And then I would try to sleep outside in alleys and stuff. And I came across some OGs that you're homeless and they've been homeless for a while. And they put me up on some game like, hey, don't do this, don't do that. Always sleep here or there because you never know what could happen to you. And you want to be out in the open. So if anything happens, you're getting mugged or whatever, somebody can call the police. If you're sleeping in alleys in the dark, somebody could come just steal your stuff, you do something bad to you, whatever, and nobody will ever know or see anything. So they put me up on game about that, and there were scenarios where I had opportunities to get off the street. I never really wanted to, though. I'm not going to lie. I never really wanted to. We had just moved a little bit prior to this, which is me in a foreign city. This is all in Los Angeles. In a foreign part, because there's a whole bunch of suburbs and pocket areas. And prior to this, I had, another girlfriend, one that was crazy, and she wasn't really crazy, but she had issues. She had some stuff going on when she was a child, and led to her having suicidal thoughts. And I didn't really even talk about this. Kind of just glanced over this whole portion of my life, but this, she was doing all that, and then somehow, one way or another, it influenced me into thinking that way and saying that way. Saying things like that and being that way. And my dad sent me to this the shelter for kids that have problems like that. Left me there for a couple weeks. It was weird. I would kind of sleep chained up, not really chained up, but tied up, I guess. And I'd wake up every day and they'd give me a shot, and to this day I don't know what it was. And then eventually he came and got me. So back to what I was saying, which is that was a year or 2 years prior to me being homeless. But eventually he got me, and, so I'm homeless at this point. And we had moved. So what I did was I went back to the area that we moved from because that's where all my friends were. That's where the people I knew were because I had been with those people from 9 to 13 or so, 14 or so in that area. And I went through elementary school and all that with them. Those are the people I knew. And I come back and they're all like, oh, we thought you were dead. We thought you were dead, man. Because nobody told us you were moving because my dad just packed us up. One day I'm at school, next day I'm gone. I didn't know what was going on. We just left. It's not like he was into some crazy hot shit because, nobody knows what he does. I don't know. My grandpa says he's selling dope. I don't know what he's doing. So everybody's like, yeah, I forgot you were dead. And so that being said, I never was found the whole time I was out. And I'm not ashamed to say that while I was out there, I did things I didn't want to do or I wasn't proud of doing. I would eat out of trash cans. I would ask people for money. I was legitimately homeless. I there's no other way to put it, right? I was sleeping outside and that was it. And that could have been, a lot of that was just me because I've always looked at myself as being ahead of my age, where it's just like I don't want to have anybody taking care of me. I don't want to be in a position where I need help. I don't want to be in a position where I've got to have somebody, just kind of there for me. And it took a while for me to see and realize that as a human being, you kind of need that. You can't be that way, you know? So as a kid, I was just living life and enjoying being away from my oppressive father. That's just kind of what it was. And I didn't want to be found. I didn't want it because I was back with my friends. I didn't want to leave in the first place. I was in a situation where I was happy again. Long story short, I'm back in the city where my dad lives. One way or another, I wind up back with him, and within a week, I'm homeless again. So from there, because the thing is, every time, because I still try to go to school and stuff, every time a school would find out or kind of be like, hey, what's going on with you? Anything like that, anything that could get him in trouble, because you can't just kick your kids out like that in California. Like, you can't just do what he did. Anything that would get him in trouble always became, oh, he ran away. I haven't seen him in so long. This man never looked for me, never called the cops for me. He just left me out there, right? He still had my younger brother. He just kind of left me out there. So ultimately, by the way, I didn't mention this. I was homeless from February of 2008, I believe, to November. So this whole time, I've been gone. February to November. I had my stuff stolen. I had to get new stuff. I've been through the ringer, right? Like, it was bad. So this whole time I've been homeless, and then what happens is, in November, social services finds out because while I said he can't kick me out, you can't be a kid and be out there like that. You can't, and these people found out and they tried to put me in a home and they were going to put me in the system. They gave me an option. They said, hey, you can come with your grandparents, your mom's parents, which I did do, or get put in the system. So like I said, I came with my grandparents, my mom's parents, because they never really established any sort of relationship with my father's parents or family. He doesn't have a whole lot. Most of them I never even met, or I met once when I was super young, and I don't know those people, So I came down, lived with my grandparents, and went to school, fucked around in school, fucked around my grades and stuff. Had to finish high school and continuation school for an extra year. It wasn't too bad. But, right, around my junior year, I'm about 16 or so, around my junior year, because all this time in high school, all I did was care about girls. I was such a fucking player. I was such a hoe. Like, it was bad. But around my junior year, I come across this chick that I had known a little bit, and around junior year, I start to like her and stuff, and then we start talking. And, at 16, you're thinking with your dick. That's just kind of what it is. A lot of us, I'm not going to say everybody because everybody's different. Everybody's situation is different. But at that age, I was, right? So all I cared about was, that kind of stuff. I didn't really think things through. She had a daughter, right? She was about 3 months old at the time. I didn't really care about that because my mindset was, I'm just going to do what I do, and I'm not going to father this child because she's not mine, Well, shit changes because one way or another, the daughter starts to gravitate towards me, starts to only walk to me. First words are daddy, and she's talking about me. Shit just changed. And I grew attached to her. So then I started claiming her as my daughter. Well, then eventually we became like a kind of a family, doing everything together, going everywhere together, staying together at my aunt's house, because at this time, I was living with my grandma, my grandpa, all this stuff, and me wanting to constantly be over there kind of just set me and my grandparents on separate ways. And then I moved in with my aunt, and my aunt didn't particularly care too much, so I was able to bring my girlfriend and her daughter over, and they could stay with me. And we did that. Well, things weren't always perfect, because I come to find out is as you spend more time with people, right, people start to reveal who they truly are to you. And so what happens from here is I go through this whirlwind, this roller coaster of emotion and issues. And by the way, thank you guys if you made it to this point, of issues and stuff like that. And, you know, I get in a situation where I've got this girl, she takes my laptop and she throws it through my aunt's window, literally shattering the window and my laptop. Well, then we're fighting, you know, and I get hit. First reaction is I hit her back. Am I happy about that? No, not at all. I will never condone action like that. I was young, I was stupid, I was dumb. I fucked up. I will never condone that. Never will. And I've never been at peace with that. You know, and me and her break up. We get back together. We argue. We fuss. We fight. We do all this shit all over again. All over again. All over again. You know, and at some point, this is around the time I'm about 18 now, because we do this for years. I've been around the girl and all, you know, and her daughter and all this stuff this whole time, on and off. Been in a situation where I've been with somebody else in the middle of all this. She was with somebody else in the middle of all this. But that's just the type of relationship that I had with her. And, you know, from there, she had wanted me to basically propose and marry her. And I'm like, I can't. I can't bring myself to do that if all we do is go back and forth having issues. I can't. Like, I feel some way about you, but I can't do that. Well, that led to her seeking out other things, because women want commitment, right? Especially if they're ready to commit themselves. So she goes out and she starts talking to somebody else. Somebody I knew, but it didn't really, I mean, it bothered me, but I can't really lie and say that it didn't hurt me, because it did. Because I'm like, damn, well, give me some more time, you know, stuff like that. Can we fix this? Can we, you know, before we try to jump into all that. And from there, he moves off. She follows him. He gets into something with me, or no, me and her get into something, and she calls him on me. And I'm like, wait, you're going to call this nigga on me? Like, what? I'm your boyfriend. Like, what? You don't, what? You know, like, okay, so I see what this is. You know, I'm your boyfriend, fine, we're on and off, fine, but you secretly over here with this nigga. And that turned out to be what it was. So she calls him on me, he comes over, we fight, all that stuff, and then we move on, right? He leaves like the next week or day or whatever it was, and she's shortly after behind him, flies off to Texas, thinking I'll never see my daughter again and things like that. Well, they get into it. She's forced to ride the Greyhound all the way back to California, and she comes back to me pregnant. Well, at this time, I'm like, maybe this is mine, but in the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't mine. And from there, what I do is, some time passes. I don't know exactly how long, but I move out of my grandparents' house, because at this time I'm back with my grandparents after living with my aunt, because some stuff happened with her health, and my aunt and her kids and me were all forced to come live with my grandparents again. So at this point, I'm moving out of my grandparents' house again. Me and her go get an apartment and all this stuff. We do the family thing again. She has the baby. I'm around, all that stuff. But secretly, she's still hung up over this same guy, you know, and that really fucked with me, because I'm like, I can't do any more than I'm doing now. And I kind of got lost in all that. And then we started doing the fighting thing on all that shit again. And then just ultimately from here, we just break up our separate ways and go live in different places and do that thing where you bring the kids back and forth. They just kind of, you know, go here and there. And we found out that the baby wasn't mine, but At this point, he's already like 2 years old, 2 years old and some months, whatever. This is me, like 22 or so. I 21, 22 in that area. I've already, which isn't super, super long ago, by the way. Like I said, I'm 23, but I have already been around for both of these kids. And, what happens is somewhere in there, I meet my girlfriend. Well, but my fiance is what I'm going to call her, which is, I don't know what's going on, which I'll talk about in a moment. She is my fiance. I proposed to her, but that's fine. I meet her, and she was super cool about all of it. Like, it was new to her. She hadn't done anything like that, where you're dating somebody that has kids and all that. And it's like, I have them but don't have them, so I'm in like this really weird gray area, And I was always straight up with her. I told her everything that was going on. I told her what was going on from day one. That, hey, I've got this situation. I've got this baby mom. I got all this going on. Are you still interested in me? And she gave me a chance. She did. And I'll forever love that woman for that. She did. Because, at that time, I was in I had gotten over it. I was good again, but prior to that, before I had gotten over it, I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do these kids, because it's like most people in a scenario like mine would just say, okay, we're broken up, bye kids. But I couldn't do that because I had grown attached to them. Well, I'm dating my fiance now, but I was dating her throughout this time period, and I'm still seeing my kids every weekend, and I'm working full time and all this stuff. And my kid's mom, she starts trying to feel like she wants me back, and I've got to stonewall that because I'm like, well, at this point, I've already moved on. You can't come back when you want to. I'm happy where I'm at. And ultimately, this whole time, my kid's mom never really worked or anything. Part of that is because of me, because I always was a full-time worker and I just helped her out. It didn't matter to me. But at this point, I'm like, I can't help you anymore because I just simply have too much going on personally in my life that I have to take care of, and I just can't help you with your rent and these different things anymore. I won't be able to do it for much longer. Well, much longer came to pass, and I couldn't do it. And that's where things got bad for me. This is around like New Year's and December, in that area, of this last year. 2017 New Year's, around then. And that's where things got bad for me, because what happens is she ultimately takes the kids away from me. This was a very dark time for me. I never thought that would happen. And I will say that I kind of took my kids for granted because, well, most people, when they have kids, they don't lose their kids, I took my kids for granted. I never thought that I would not have my kids. So that being said, up until literally just a couple days ago, I had not seen my kids from New Year's till then, months, which was a blessing. It was amazing to be able to see my daughter. I didn't get to see the baby because, well, he belongs to the guy that she was talking to that I mentioned and stuff, and he made it to where I couldn't see him, so whatever. That sucks, but, I mean, there's nothing I could do about it. Either way, I was able to see one of the two. And it was great seeing my daughter, And I've been having issues with that lately, but I'm not really going to get too deep into that. But it really hurt me, like yesterday, that I had to sit down and talk to her and say, hey, this is what's going on. I didn't go full in detail because I'm not going to slander her mom to her. But I said, hey, Dad's not going to be around. Daddy's not going to be able to talk to you as much. I'm not going to see you as much because I never thought that I would see them again. So I had made plans with my chick now to move away. And, I'm not moving super, super, super undeniably far away, but it's still pretty far away to where it's not something I can do all the time anymore. And at the same time, I shouldn't all the time anymore because, like I said earlier, my girl she's a phenomenal person. I don't think she knows. I don't think that she knows, but she has been trying to literally break up with me on and off for like all of May. So I'm like secretly hoping May ends. I didn't mention this earlier, but like my mom died in May. Every fucking May, every year, I have horrible luck with everything. Coincidentally, last May is when I met my girl now. So that was like the one bright spot ever in a May. May has always been utter shit for me, and this month it's back to normal, true to form. My girl's trying to break up with me. She's been trying to break up with me from like the beginning of the month, because what happens is in May, I don't even do it on purpose. It's not an excuse, but shit gets me down. I get super like selfish. I get argumentative. I get all these different things, and I'm a lot to handle, right? And I guess most people can't handle that. Nobody can handle that. I don't know what it is. Otherwise, I'm very cool most of the time. But unless you bullshit me. If you bullshit me, then I'm going to call you out. But, you know, she's been trying that. But regardless, she's a freaking incredible person for everything that she did, everything she put up with, because I don't know too many people that would be able to kind of deal with what I had going on. You know, because it's like they're mine, but they're not mine. So there's that whole added layer. It's like at any point I could walk away and I won't have any obligation, but I couldn't. I never could. So she dealt with that. Well, one day we're just kind of laying down and I'm holding her and I'm saying, hey, it's your time now. Thank you, you know, for loving me through all the drama. Because when I mean drama, my baby mom she was so like, I didn't want to talk too bad about her in this, and I still don't, but she's about as crazy as they come. Like, undeniably psycho crazy. And that's just putting it bland, or plainly simply, she's just crazy. But I'm holding my girl. I say, hey, it's your time. So we get better, we get good, we get, you know, closer, and we grow together. Especially during that time before May, because May is apparently really bad for me, like I said. But between January and before May, we get really good. And, well, like I said, I recently saw my daughter, and this kind of takes me full circle after like 40 minutes of talking or whatever it's been, to the fact that I've been vulnerable on Twitter. You know, you kind of look at it. Society says a guy is not able to express who he is. He's not able to have emotion. A guy is not able to be hurt. You have to be some stern, strong figure all the time without a fear of being a beta. You know, I'm not afraid of talking about who I am. That's who I am. I'm a talker. I'm a lover, not a fighter, you know. That's just me. If I can work something out, I will. So that's just kind of what I've done. But I had to sit there and I had to tell her, hey, I'm not going to be around. And that, like I said earlier, truly broke me. It did. It's left me vulnerable. And it's left me in a position where everything I'm doing is causing more problems for me in my own relationship. Not only that, but just what's going on with me this month. It's just back and forth, which is why I said my girl been trying to break up with me. And I bet she hasn't even looked at it that way. But from the beginning of this month, we got bad. We got bad. And then we're good again, then we're bad again. Then we're good again, then we're bad again. And it's like she's got some stuff going on. So I don't know. And I've been selfish. That's me. I don't know. Well, I've told you guys basically everything. I didn't really talk too much about YouTube and my journey with YouTube because I've talked about that before. I started YouTube before I met my girl now, back in 2014 or 15, something like that, a little bit before I met her. Actually, probably about a year before I met her, something like that. Either way, and YouTube is now my full-time job at this point. I never really talked about what happened with my job in there and stuff like that and how YouTube became full-time because it just kind of was a thing that didn't too much matter. But around the time I stopped being able to help my kid's mom around New Year's and stuff was when I transitioned into being full-time on YouTube. So, I don't know. So forgive me, right? If I've come off some type of way, if I've rubbed anybody the wrong way, especially this month, I do love all of you guys. I do. You know, I wake up and I'm not going to lie and say every day I want to record because honestly today I haven't even put up a regular video aside from this one. But I put up a Q&A one, but I killed it because I only wanted it up for a certain amount of time. But either way, I'm not going to say that every day I wake up and want to do this, but you guys are, considered my family to me. I love all you guys. You may not all like me. You may not all think I'm your favorite or whatever the case is. That doesn't matter to me. I love all of you guys, and I do consider you guys part of my family and appreciate all the support that I get and all the kind words you guys have said to me on Twitter and all the kind words I'm going to get from you guys down below on this video too, which I'm assuming. Maybe everybody's just like, fuck you, D-Free. I don't know. But I do appreciate you guys. And I said earlier on Twitter, it's amazing to have somebody that has your back, that supports you, that loves you unconditionally, that loves you for who you are. And I hope that everybody has that, because without that, it's hard to function, it's hard to manage. When things get rough, it's hard to persevere. It's hard if you don't have somebody in your corner, whether that's family, friends, or a relationship like mine. Which, like I said, I'm going to say it again. This girl been trying to break up with me for like all month, and she probably is. I don't know. We're in a period right now where I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But either way, she's been my #1 supporter, so it is what it is. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the most personal video I'll ever do. This is literally my life story. Good and the bad and the ugly. But let this be motivation for you. Let it be something that resonates within you and helps you strive to be better and do better. So, anyways, I'll catch you guys later, and thank you for the support. Peace out.